welcome to Popcorn Theories. I'm Jacob Hirsch. Today we are going to be talking about Batman vs. Superman. Let's go around the table and introduce our guests.
Calvin Carmel, hello.
I am Vengeance, I am the Knight, I am Evan Schwartzberg. Super excited to be talking here. I think you might know who I'm rooting for.
Okay, let's get started. So, the first and obvious question is, who wins? Obviously, since we know it's Dawn of Justice, nobody's actually going to win. But for the argument, who do we think would win?
If we're talking quote-unquote real life, because this is comic book, Superman no contest. There's absolutely no way Batman could beat him. But the beauty of comic books is contrivance. So there are all sorts of little ways that Batman has beat Superman in the past. I don't really know how to answer the question besides that.
Well, we do know that in the movie there is going to be a robotic Batman suit, and he's going to use that to fight Superman.
Right. Just like in this comic right here, Batman: The Dark Knight Returns takes the movie will take a lot of inspiration from that.
Personally, I think first Superman is going to win when they first meet each other because Batman won't be ready for the fight. But on their second encounter, I think Batman has a greater chance of actually winning with his suit and everything. So, okay, so speaking of super suits, Lex Luthor, in the comics, he has his own robot suit, and he uses it to, like, fight Superman and stuff. Do we think we will see the suit in the movie? Because we know he's going to be in the movie.
I think that the suit, if it is in the movie at all, is going to go towards the end of the movie. Like, It's going to be one of those end credit scenes that happens where we see Lex Luthor just walking into a room, and then there's just the suit there, and he goes, okay, now it's my turn to intervene.
I like that. I also think it's possible that if/when Doomsday is defeated, Lex Luthor might do one of those like supervillain rage moments, like you ruined the glory of my vision, and he'll attack them with the suit. That would be a lot of action for the film. Because in Doomsday, you could say he's the final boss, so to speak. But then again, I saw Man of Steel. That movie had quite a bit of action, so I would not be too surprised if that happened.
So, they've shown pictures of some of the action figures from the movie, and this one came up. So we have the Superman, the Batman, Superman fighting suit, and then we have this Lex Luthor robot suit. Do we think that this is the suit that he puts on in the movie, or that we find in the after credit scene, or do we think that he just did it for toy purposes and did it because they thought it would be a good selling technique?
I wish I could tell you more about toy purposes and
It also
things
doesn't
of that nature.
It also doesn't look like that the LexCorp logo is on the front, because you
actually-
can't actually read that. It just looks like an X, and
I
it's
think-
not the logo.
I feel like that could still say LexCorp.
Yeah,
I feel like it could, but we can't see it, so
Actually,
we have no way to determine.
in Man of Steel, they did show the LexCorp logo.
Yeah,
And
I think
so I
that's
would
the
not be
logo.
surprised if they put that right there. It was like on some sort of truck that flipped over in that movie.
And also, LexCorp, this could just be one of his soldiers. If he has like a group of people, that might not be him in the suit, but that might be one of the many robots he has at his expense.
That's an excellent point. Looking at it from here, that does not look much like a human face. I get kind of like an Ultron from Age of Ultron vibe from it, actually. You know, like the light shining from underneath and all that kind of looks like a skull. I can definitely see that, yeah.
Okay. So, talking about villains, Darkseid. He is rumored to be the big Justice League villain. He's kind of like the big boss. Do we think he will make an appearance in the movie, whether it's after credits or anything? But before we talk about it, they have released pictures from these scenes. They're calling it the Nightmare. I'm not sure if it's a real-life scenario or it's one of Batman's nightmares about like the world coming to an end and like a future vision. But if you look closely, that's the
That's an Omega, yeah.
Yeah,
Like
it's
Darkseid's logo.
that's the Darkseid logo. So that might be a sign. And also in the same scene, they've released a picture of these flying guys, and those I think are his. They're called parademons.
I've heard them described as parademons.
Yeah,
right. And they're like the henchmen.
If you see the, there's an animated series and a comic book of Justice League Volume 1 and New 52, the supposed primary villains were these parademons, but later you find out that they just worked for Darkseid.
Right. So, do we think we're actually going to get Darkseid in this film at all?
Maybe not in this film, but I would not be surprised if there's a little post-credit scene. You know, they like said something about a greater threat. This movie has been very, very forthcoming with the information. Actually, I was pretty annoyed at the second trailer because
me too.
you could draw a cohesive storyline out of that trailer, and that bugs me because that's not what trailers are about. I thought the trailer that came after that was actually perfect. It focused a lot on our new Batman, and it showed just a bunch of, high-octane, fast-moving, dramatic images. That was really cool, but the second trailer in particular, just gave away information.
Right.
Yeah, there's also like 3 or 4 villains that have already been introduced, so we don't even know what's happening.
Considering all that, there's little to no doubt in my mind that this is going to lead to, this seed will lead to a dark seed fruit.
Right. With the second trailer, I think they should have focused more on the Batman versus Superman rather than the Dawn of Justice. And by showing that we all know none of them are going to die. We know they're going to come back together and they get that final shot of the 3 of them. We didn't need to see that.
Right. There's that scene where Doomsday shows up. First of all, that was a pretty big thing. They show him getting resurrected from the body of General Zod. That's another big thing. He fires his laser beams at Batman. Most trailers, that would be the perfect part to cut away and make people want to see it. Nope, suddenly Wonder Woman's there. Yet another spoiler, and it also reveals the fate of Batman, which I thought was not a very good move. I was not pleased with that at all.
We know Justice League is building up. We know Aquaman's going to be in the film. We've seen pictures. We haven't seen him in action, though. Wonder Woman, obviously. Batman and Superman.
There's also a rumored Flash cameo. When Superman looks at a security screen, there's like a streak going across the security screen.
Yeah, I mean, there's rumored Flash and Cyborg. So they've done these drawings for them and stuff. Are they going to be introduced in this movie? If so, how? Maybe it's in that nightmare sequence? What do we think?
I think that they will probably get introduced near the end. What worries me a little bit, however, is the fact that I do think these characters are going to get introduced. Considering that this is going to be a big movie for DC and their movies in general. And if this flops, then that will not bode well for all the movies that they've already planned for the future. Aquaman has a release date.
They all have release dates.
They all do.
Yeah, Cyborg has a release date. Even Shazam has a release date. Who doesn't even show up?
Green Lantern Corps movie that they announced.
Right.
With all the Green Lanterns.
It concerns me a little bit that they're putting so much stock in this one movie, because if this flops, then who's going to go see Aquaman? If you can't get people to come see Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice, how are you going to get people to see the Cyborg solo movie? That's my question here.
Well, I think the issue isn't how are you going to get people to see Batman versus Superman, because everybody's going to see it. It's Batman and Superman. The question is, how will the reaction be? So if this doesn't do well...
That's another good point. Man of Steel. Like I said, I saw Man of Steel.
I liked it. I liked it. Yeah.
I'd give it, if I were writing for Metacritic, I'd probably give it like 57 out of 100. That's their grading scale.
That's a fail. That's a fail.
Is it?
Yeah, 57 out of 100.
I guess you're right. It was okay, but it does make me worry a little bit about this movie and its future. Because if you look over at Marvel, when Iron Man came out, we had no rumors of Avengers 2, Black Panther. None of us had any idea what a big phenomenon the MCU would become based on the basis of that one little Iron Man movie, which was very good, I'll admit.
Yeah, I think that DC is actually trying to match Marvel in a way in this. They're trying to introduce their characters as quick as they can. Like, going back to how they might introduce the characters, if you remember in Age of Ultron, the scene where Tony gets hit by Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
And then he sees like all of his friends just like dead, lying down, and then Captain America is just there saying that he could have saved them. Going back to how if Batman is having a nightmare, then that could be the nightmare that introduces the Flash and Aquaman. So he would see them, and in his mind he'd be thinking, who are these people? But in the time that the dream is taking place, they would know him and say, like, this is all your fault, you could have helped us.
Right.
Or something like that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go to the next topic. Doomsday. So we talked a little bit about him before. So this is the picture from the trailer. Now, I pose a question. I don't think they've actually come out and said, this is Doomsday. So, with the, like, gray skin and the rocks and stuff, I think there might be a chance that it's actually Bizarro. And because I don't think they've said, I think it's probably Doomsday, but looking at the powers and stuff, I have pictures of the powers. Fire breath. So Bizarro.
Sure, why not?
Bizarro is known for the opposite powers of Superman. So while Superman blows cold, Bizarro blows fire. So this picture right here kind of looks like a fire breath.
But now here's the thing. If Superman has cold breath and heat vision, then Bizarro would have to have cold vision and heat breath.
Right, so that looks like it's coming out of his mouth. But that might not even be that shot.
Here's the other thing about that. Superman doesn't have cold breath in the movie. He can barely fly. He definitely does not have freeze breath at this point. Which does make introducing a character with inverse powers to Superman seem a little bit implausible.
Well, how do we know what the time difference is between Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman?
Well, the other thing about the frost breath is, I'm glad you mentioned that actually, frost breath is not Superman's most popular power. Frost breaths have been retconned in and out, back and forth, just like Superman's super speed, actually. I think theoretically he does have that, he just doesn't use it very often because we have a Flash and no one wants to see Superman doing the exact same thing for obvious reasons.
Well, Superman isn't fast enough. Superman is not as fast as the Flash.
Agreed, but the fact remains that Superman's powers are a source of pretty big contention, considering back in when he was created, he was basically a god. There was nothing Superman couldn't do.
Well, about the picture again, it also might be like a solar flare, which is Superman's new power in the comics. These are both pictures from the trailer, and they look kind of similar to pictures of Superman, right? So
I still think it's Doomsday.
yeah, I mean, it's probably Doomsday, but I don't think they've actually said this is Doomsday.
It's true, although another big piece is the Kryptonian elements. They've shown Zod's body. They've established they've actually done, one of the things I liked about Man of Steel was how well they established the whole Kryptonian side to it. A lot of Superman movies say, dead planet, baby becomes hero. They really elaborated on a lot of that, which I thought really showed that they're setting up for something with Doomsday.
So the next question is from the fans. We have this picture of the Robin suit. So if you can read it, it says, "Ha ha ha, joke's on you, Batman." That means Joker probably killed Robin in this universe, making Batman like darker. So
Bitter than usual.
this is a big Batman storyline, but which Robin is it? Because we have different signs of different things. First off, people found pictures of this gravestone, and if you look closely, it's Dick Grayson's grave. So I'm not sure if this is... I think it's an official picture from that graveyard scene in the trailers. Not sure, but it might be that the Robin that was killed was actually Dick Grayson. So we're going to go down the list of the Robins. So Dick Grayson, we have evidence in this grave. Jason Todd is, in the comics, he gets killed by the Joker.
By popular demand.
Right, yeah. So it would make sense that if they were going by the comics, they would also have Jason Todd be killed by the Joker, therefore the Jason Todd suit. But we're going to go out of order for the next Robin. Damian Wayne. Less likely, but it would be a cool, factor to have Batman's son killed rather than, an adoptive son. Like, his biological son was killed by the Joker. That might make him more aggressive, and I think that would be a cool story point. And finally, we have Tim Drake. Now, the reason why I'm using this picture of Tim Drake is because, if you don't know, this is from the animated cartoon where the Joker takes Tim Drake, doesn't kill him, but actually turns him into a mini Joker. And now, this is significant because some people speculate that the Joker from Suicide Squad, which is the next movie in the DC universe, is actually Tim Drake. And the reasons why people think that is, I'm not sure if this is true, but there's little things on his shoulder that are on the same marks that the suit has.
Actually, hate to be the bearer of bad news,
Yeah.
that one was dispelled by the creators. They said the shoulder marks are a coincidence.
Okay, never mind. But there's also the little, I think it's a Robin's wing, but there's a little wing on his arm right there. So, it's highly unlikely. Personally, I would not like it. I don't want them to stay with Jason Todd being the dead Robin. But what would you guys think?
Well,
Actually, Jason Todd doesn't stay dead. He comes back as the
Right,
Red Hood.
right.
So there was a theory that the reason that there was a J tattooed on the side of his face was not to stand for Joker, it was actually to stand for Jason.
Right.
And it was Jason Todd who did that, who became the Joker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also, that would make sense. Joker, like, if this was the tortured Jason Todd, or whichever Robin this would be, if the Joker would torture him, that might be why there's the ha 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 written on him and stuff. Because I know people were upset about all the tattoos. Maybe the Joker, the original Joker, put the tattoos on him.
I agree that sowing the seeds for some sort of Jason Todd rebirth is a good idea. Dick Grayson's probably not dead because he's iconic. Jason Todd, on the other hand, no one liked Jason Todd. Story goes, this is true, that there was a phone line you could call to vote on whether or not Jason Todd died. And the fans decided on Jason Todd's death. It was not great. However, Jason Todd got brought back as the Red Hood. Everyone loved it. Suddenly people are all about Jason Todd. So killing off Jason Todd, only to bring him back, is a pretty wise move. I don't know how I feel about the Tim Drake thing. I feel like Tim Drake is the third Robin. I feel like that's advancing the storyline a little far for this movie. That's my only problem.
Oh.
You'd have to run through two Robins, and it feels like, I don't know, they could do it, but personally, if I were there, I would say, nah, that's advancing the storyline a little far.
Also, something to remember is that Tim Drake is the son of Batman and Talia al Ghul.
That's not true.
It's
That's
not?
Damian Wayne.
What did I say?
You said Tim Drake.
Oh, my bad. Okay, Damian Wayne is the son of Talia al Ghul and Batman, and they haven't introduced the League of Assassins at all.
Yeah.
So if it was to be Damian Wayne, then they would introduce yet another series of villains in the Batman vs Superman universe.
You read
in
my
the
mind.
movie.
But isn't there a chance that they don't go by the comics?
Well, there is a chance.
Because this is based off of The Dark Knight Returns. But, like, Doomsday isn't Zod. So they do take creative license for things. This isn't going to be an exact comic representation. So what if they changed the order of the Robins? Or what if it wasn't Talia al Ghul's son? There's different ways they can play with it. Personally, I hope this is the original Joker, but it's all just speculation.
Well, actually,
Popcorn theories.
going back to the oh God, I forgot what was going through my head. Oh yeah, with the whole if General Zod, they might not be making Doomsday. They might actually be making their own villain, like or changing the villain in such a way, because in the going back to the Marvel Universe, in the TV show Iron Man Armored Adventures, the Mandarin was actually powered by 10 rings.
That's
Right.
the comics as well.
Yeah. But
Right.
in the movie, Iron Man 3, the Mandarin was just some guy who
Who
could catch
led
on
a-
fire from the inside.
And he led an organization called the Ten Rings. That was not mentioned.
Oh, that's funny. I never picked up on
I
that.
did. That was the terrorist organization.
Then again, also AIM wasn't controlled by the Mandarin.
Okay.
Well, actually, one more little thing
Yep.
about the Robins before we move on.
Yeah.
Speaking of Dark Knight Returns, that also takes place after quite a few DC characters are dead and or have lost an arm. Look at you, Great Arrow. There is a new Robin introduced in this. She's a girl, she has red hair, and her name is Carrie. I know literally nothing else about her, I will admit. But it's a possibility a new Robin comes out of the cold.
Right. Okay, so, final theories. What are we thinking? Batman vs. Superman. What do we think?
I'm thinking they're going to be in the middle of their final fight, and then Wonder Woman's just going to come out of nowhere and be like, hey, stop, we have to do other things. And they're like, hey, we don't have to fight anymore. And then they're going to do that whole thing, like, what if they did this whole thing at the end of the movie, where they both just walk into, like, a room, like a big building, and they're just like, okay, let's see who's going to win, and then they both just hash out at each other.
Oh, like how the Arrowverse
In
Flash
Arrowverse
did.
Flash, they were just like, hey, this is just for you and me, but let's see who'll actually win.
Right.
And how we still don't know, which is very misleading from the actual name of the TV show. The episode.
Yeah. Arrow won that fight, by the way. He did. It's true. Evan,
Barry
any
was
last?
not trained.
Well, that's a different episode. We're going to talk about Arrow and Flash later this year.
Oh, are we?
Yeah, after the finales. Any last theories, Evan?
I feel like it's going to be pretty action-packed. I think this is going to... The more I watch this movie, the more I'm a little afraid that's going to turn to Man of Steel 2. I know you said you like Man of Steel, but I got to admit, it got a little boring at times.
Yeah, and I'm not saying the action scenes were not boring at times and they were not overhanded, but as a movie in general, I personally really like it.
Although, I would like to say, I think they might have found a better balance in terms of their grandiose exposition and symbolism. There was a lot of Jesus imagery in Man of Steel. Quite a bit, actually, if you look. And I feel like my man Zack Snyder, my close personal friend Zack, might have toned it down a little bit. There are some decent lines in there. Don't worry about it. There are some decent lines in there, especially coming from Lex Luthor. By the way, I'm a huge Jesse Eisenberg fan.
Yeah, I think he's going to be great.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited for him.
It's a very non-traditional take on Lex Luthor.
Like, I've already seen him in the trailers, and I'm already so excited for him.
Yeah, some people don't like him. I can see why, but personally, I'm fine with adaptations. He's more to the time.
The Social Network is my favorite movie, actually.
Yeah, like I feel like he's gonna be another Mark Zuckerberg, but evil in this movie,
So
which I'm fine with.
He's still going to be condescending.
Right.
I feel like they're going to have Aaron Sorkin guest write all of his lines.
Okay, so that was Popcorn Theories. Thank you for watching. Hey, don't forget to click right here, subscribe to our channel, Some Nights at CHS. Please do, and we will be back with another episode soon. So, before we end this episode, let's go around the table, reintroduce ourselves. I am Jacob Hirsch.
Calvin Carmel.
I'm Evan Schwartzberg, and I'm not wearing hockey pads.
We need that.
Okay, so thank you for watching again. I'm Jacob Hirsch, and we will see you later.